watching The Breakdown with the fight analyst, Garrett Kerman.
And welcome back to another episode of The Breakdown. I am the fight analyst, Garrett Kerman, and with us is my co-host, as always, the MMA fight professor from MMA Power Hour, Colin Crandall. What's up, man? How's it going on this fine Thursday evening?
It's all great. I don't know why the heck I stuck in a fight. It's just supposed to be the MMA professor, but it's one of those days, man. I'm jumping from one task to another, and, I'm not as sharp as when I was a youngster like yourself, Garrett Kerman. But, it should just be the MMA professor. But anyway, whatever, MMA fight professor. In fact, the fight professor was my buddy Stephen Quadros, so maybe this is an homage to him. But just MMA professor, you guys can call me. And I'm so happy to be here. I'm going to get a cool background one of these days soon, so you don't have to see a messy office.
No worries,
I appreciate it, Garrett. But we got a big card. Looks like there's going to be a bunch of fights, and it's not going to have to be in the morning.
I know. This is great. We finally get a normal, start time. I love the evenings to nighttime. I don't like the daytime stuff. Because I get, it's Friday, it's Saturday, got some things to do. I got family time. I got my family time during the day, and then at nighttime, I get to relax, have my beer, and watch some fights. The daytime stuff, no bueno.
And I agree. And even worse, you're on the East Coast and the West Coast, and when they do the daytime stuff, the first prelim is at 7 a.m. I'm going to get up at 7 a.m. on a Saturday. No.
I'm already up at that time. I'm up at like 6:30 in the morning.
Right, but you got stuff with family.
I would have had my cup of coffee going, all that good stuff. But
I hear you, brother. Either way, we both don't like the daytime cards, and we're lucky because it's not happening here. And I think we've got about 14 fights or something, pretty close.
We do. We have 14 fight card, and every single fight is worth watching. Every single one.
Without a doubt. However, we don't want to keep you guys here for 2.5 or 3 hours to break down a lot of fights that a lot of you guys haven't heard of. So forgive us, but we will kind of skim through some of the earlier fights so that we can spend more of the quality time here on the fights that a lot of you have heard of and care about most.
Absolutely. Well said. And let's just jump right into it. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Starting on the preliminary card at 125 pounds in the flyweight division between CJ Vergara and O'Day Osborne. Right now, Osborne's a -185 favorite, and the comeback on Vergara is a +150 underdog. Who do you got in this one?
Gotcha. I like O'Day Osborne as a fighter. That last fight against Manel Kopp, I think it was a really short notice for O'Day. And I think O'Day had come down in weight from where he had been fighting, right? I think he had
he fluctuates between bantamweight and flyweight.
Right. And
he even got all the way up to 145, but that was a very short notice fight.
Right. So this was I think he had a couple of bantamweight outings in a row, and then was kind of coming back to flyweight. So he was in that fight. It may have been stopped a little bit soon. In a lot of people's opinions, but nevertheless, it is what it is. Manel Kopp is a tough guy, and when you get caught with a flying knee, it's hard not to have your lights turned out and the circuits, turned off, and that's what it was. But anyway, coming back up here against CJ Vergara, the Jamaican sensation is 29 years old, 5'7", tall for a flyweight.
Both of them are.
Yep, CJ Vergara, 5'6", and at 30 years old, training out of a good team, Pete Spratt. American Muay Thai. Pete Spratt was a good UFC fighter, one of the first African-American fighters in the UFC. Pete Spratt, and a very good coach. CJ Vergara is making his UFC debut, having won with a knee to the body on the Dana White Contender Series, coming off a 5-fight win streak. So it's so hard to know how he's going to react. Will there be an adrenaline dump? Will there be nerves? How good is he against good competition? We just don't know. Because of that, I would take O'Day, but I don't have a ton of confidence. It's an X factor. I don't like to bet someone who we don't know that well, even if I'm betting against him. I just don't like to bet on a fight with someone with not enough information like that. But if forced, I would go O'Day, but I just don't know. I can't, I don't have enough information on this side to say anything definitively.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't want to bet on either one of these two.
Right.
Osborne has faltered numerous times that we've seen. Granted, it was against much better competition than Carlos Vergara. I'm pretty sure if you really think about it, at the end of the day, Osborne should win this fight. He's got the much more experience. He's fought up, 2 weight classes, so he should be the stronger fighter if there were some grappling exchanges there. I do think he's a quicker fighter. I think he's a longer fighter. I think he's got more tools in the shed, as far as more variety of attacks and that. He's very unorthodox. So there's a lot of, spinning attacks, a lot of kicks. So I think he'll be able to keep his distance. Vergara will have to kind of come in and kind of just brawl, make it a brawl, and make it, hard on Osborne, just kind of coming forward, stalking him, and just being in his face to get it done. I expect a lot of, excitement in this fight. I feel someone's going to get finished, and I would like the under 2.5 rounds if it's set at that. Right now, I don't have an over-under prop, but I do like the fight does go to a decision at -175. I think that's a really good prop. I don't see either one of these two, just holding on to get a win by decision. I think we're definitely going to get a finish in this fight. It's going to be excitement from the jump, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a early first-round finish from either one of these two.
Very possible.
I think, fight doesn't go to decision is arguably one of the better plays in this fight.
Yeah, and it's very rare because a lot of flyweight fights do go to a decision, but some don't, and these two guys are guys that don't. So, like that. All right, next up.
Moving on, we have a fight at 145 pounds between Melsik Bagdasaryan and Bruno Souza. Right now, Bagdasaryan is a -350 favorite, and the comeback on Souza is a +275 underdog. What do you got?
So neither fighter has a lot of fights. Bruno the Tiger Souza is coming off of a really good streak. He's got a record of 10-1 with 10 wins in a row. He lost his first fight by a decision and has just been on a killing spree since then. He's fought mostly in the LFA, which is a very good competition. However, his last few fights, he's had a couple split decisions in there, and a win by disqualification and a couple of decisions, although he's got a couple stoppages, but not as impressive as like finishing a lot of fights. And in fact, a couple of split decisions mean he could have 2 losses on his record. Anyway, he's got 11 fights and doesn't look like any amateur career. Melsik Bagdasaryan right here in Southern California, training out of the same school with Edmund Shabazian, both of them on the card tonight.
They're both training at AKA?
No, Shabazian, I think, has kept his ties with Glendale Fight Club, and I think he's gone for wrestling.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I know he's just been friends and he grew up there, and his brother trained there. So, I think he's spending some time though there in Glendale. But anyway, the gun, Melsik Bagdasaryan, 29 years old. The more mature age-wise of the fighter, he's 29 to 25. A lot of people might look at it the other way. I don't think so. I think 29-year-old's more in your prime than the 25-year-old. Also, he has one win destroying a very tough Colin England.
Yeah, that was impressive.
He looked scary as hell there.
Yeah.
So I got to say, Melsik Bagdasaryan, I hate to recommend people betting on guys either with 0 fights in the UFC or 1 fight. It's one thing maybe if they have a bunch of good fights against high-level guys in Bellator or PFL or 1 championship. It's not as easy to find that as you might think. But other than that, though, you got Bagdasaryan with 1 UFC fight, fighting a contender series, and fighting essentially really small promotions before that. And then you have Bruno Souza, 0 fights in the UFC. So I would say be careful with this. This is more of like a half a unit proposition, and there's no money to be made on Bagdasaryan straight. So I'm looking at Bagdasaryan as a parlay piece, although I don't know that I'd go, you know what? Yeah, I think I will. I think pretty good parlay piece that I'll be using for a few parlays with the gun of Melsik Bagdasaryan. I think the win here, but maybe not a ton of money spent because of the lack of information we still have.
Yeah, it's this is I think it's a pretty good fight. I've watched Souza fight in the LFA. He's pretty good, all well-rounded fighter. He's got decent grappling. I think he's gonna want to really use that. He's not the best grappler. He does have a ton of wins via submission. I think his grappling just a little underrated. I think he's pretty good. Like, he's a good all-around fighter, but I think on the feet it's just a complete and utter mismatch. Bagdasarian's going to come forward. He's going to throw heavy leg kicks, heavy punches, and he's going to keep walking forward. So if Souza doesn't crack him, make him stop, pressing forward, and it's going to be a long night. And I'm really kind of liking, Bagdasarian by knockout, plus 155.
That is a good prospect. I like that. Now, I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but I like that. I think that's good.
I think I think that could possibly, definitely happen. I think Bagdasarian is by far the best power puncher that Souza has faced in his career. So, and he's got to take this fight on, just 3 days notice against somebody who's got that insane power, 145 pounds. I mean, he's pretty jacked. Well, Souza's kind of on the leaner side. He's 5'10", one of a taller,
Right. Not only that, but Bagdasarian actually has 5 KO wins out of his 6 wins.
Exactly. The only time he went the distance was on the Contender Series against Dennis Bazooka, who's a product over at Serra-Longo. So you know how tough they are. A bunch of wrestlers, good chins. So I can see Bagdasarian taking out Souza. I mean, he took out Colin Anglin, who is hard to finish himself. Dude's got a chin on him, and he absolutely put him out cold with a head kick. So,
crazy.
I'm looking forward to this fight. I think it's gonna be really good, and I think Bagdasarian's gonna get a win. I have some parlays. I'm gonna probably take it by knockout as well.
Like it.
All right, next up, we got a fight at a light heavyweight division between Dustin Jacoby and John Allen. Right now, the line is set at Dustin Jacoby is a minus 350 favorite, and the comeback on Allen is a plus 280 underdog. What do you got?
Last second fight. This fight was just added, I think, like 4 days ago, or 3 days ago even. My boy, the Hanyak, Dustin Jacoby, just on the show a few weeks ago on our MMA Power Hour on Fight TV show. You can check the archives or even look on YouTube or the Hannibal TV on YouTube or MMA Power Hour Facebook or Hannibal Facebook. Anyway, so he fought August 28th, September, October. So this is just about a 9 week, just under 9 week, or about a 9 week turnaround, which is good. My boy Dustin Jacoby is 33 years old, so still relatively young. And he really put it on Darren Stewart, finished that fight in the first round. He's a killer. He's just a tough dude. And this is his fight. Factory X guy, John Allen, or some people call
we have Derek asking, what's the over-under on this fight? And the over-under is set at 1.5 rounds across the board so far. I mean, there's some that do have 2.5, but it's 1.5 across the board. I'll let you finish before I get my thoughts out, but go ahead.
Okay. So excuse me. In looking at John Allen from Brazil, the hunter, 6'1", 205. He had lost a split decision to Roman Dolidze, who's a tough guy, but I just don't think Roman Dolidze is in the same class as Dustin Jacoby. No. Overturned fight with Mike Rodriguez, Alexander Silva, Vinicius Moreira. How often does he get stopped when he loses? He lost by sub.
4 submission losses and 2 decision losses.
Right, so 0 knockout losses.
No, he's pretty tough. I give him that. He's
so 1.5 is a little bit scary. 1.5,
Take the over, right?
Go over, right? Yeah. So
it's at minus 160.
Yeah, but I like that. So I like a straight bet. Although again, minus 400, no money. Parlay piece for sure. My boy Dustin Jacoby, the Hanyak, parlay piece, absolutely. And for me, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm fairly confident in Jacoby. The short notice factor doesn't really bother me because we've seen him go against really tough competitors on short notice and fare very, very well. So, you talk about against Kuchalaba, how well he did against him on short notice, he could take care of John Allen, no problem. I don't think he gets the finish here. So I have him in parlays, but I'm definitely taking the over 1.5 round. I'm definitely taking Jacoby by decision. It's plus 250.
Wow.
How are you giving everybody, plus 250 on Jacoby by decision? Maybe it's a trap. It could be. But at that price, I'm betting it. No way. There's no way you don't bet that. I mean, you could bet him in straight because he could get a knockout, and I get it. But they lined that at minus 115. They're guaranteeing he's knocking him out. He's not getting submission because he doesn't get submissions. He's a kickboxer. And John Allen's never been knocked out before. So you give me 2 to 1, 2.5 to 1 odds on him to possibly win a decision. I'm taking that.
I like it with you 100%.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Our next fight up is in the heavyweight division between Chris Barnett and Gian Villante. Right now, Villante is a minus 135 favorite, and the comeback on Barnett is a plus 110 underdog. Who do you got?
This is a very strange fight. And this is on the main card. No, this is not on the main card. Of course not. No, not even close. Okay.
No way.
Right. So this is just a weird fight. All respect to both guys, but in Gian Villante, the best friend of Chris Weidman, or brother-in-law or something. I think he's brother-in-law with Wonder Boy and is just a friend with Villante or cousin. I don't know. Villante, 17-13, a very weird record to see in the UFC. And almost all those fights were in the UFC. He's been in the UFC. Actually, he was in Strikeforce before that. So he was in the UFC for 8 years now. And just been a winning, losing, winning a little bit, losing more. Last 3 fights, losses to Michael Oleksiejczuk. No shame in that. Tough guy. Maurice Green, which was a bizarre fight.
He was winning the fight, and then he just gassed it.
And he got choked. There wasn't even wasn't even in.
It
wasn't even in.
He tapped due to exhaustion. It was the funniest thing ever.
Yeah.
He was so tired. He's just like, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Call it.
And then Jake Collier. So these are not good losses. This is the man though who for years fought at 205.
Yeah.
And
he was jacked at 205 too.
Yeah. What's that?
He was jacked at 205.
Yeah, he was. He looked good at 205. He's chubby at heavyweight, although at 6'2", he's not as short fighter. But at 36 years old, he's got a lot of miles on him. He's kind of an older 36. I've heard people say he's really just showing up for a paycheck. You can't say that unless you know the man, and I would never choose to say that. But it's a question. I mean, he's a durable veteran, that's for sure. Flip side of it, Chris Barnett, only a year younger. Chris is like 5 inches shorter. A heavyweight at 5'9", who I think has to cut to make weight.
He does.
You know what I mean?
That's a crazy
that is crazy. Yeah, but he's a thick, strong guy. He's a good karate. He's like a black belt in Taekwondo, I think. So his kicks are good. He's got some reach. I think it was a little bit unfair giving him a short notice fight in his first fight against Ben Rothwell. I know people are going to
a giant,
legitimate giant. Right, and I know some people are going to say Ben Rothwell is no longer top 10 contender Ben Rothwell, but he's not far removed from that. He's not far removed from top 10 contender Ben Rothwell, and it's just what a crappy first fight. And he was hanging in it. The little guy was hanging in it. The UFC debutante. And then just got caught. But I will say this: a overweight, light heavyweight in Gian Villante coming off of 3 losses is not the same as fighting Ben Rothwell. It just isn't. And a lot of people are criticizing Chris Barnett. Chris Barnett's hungry. He wants to be able to say he's at least had 1 win in the UFC, if not better than that. Gian Villante seems like just a nice, fun dude, watching all the videos put out between him and Weidman and stuff. But I just think he gets knocked the fuck out here. I just think this fight is all Chris Barnett. So I'm on Chris Barnett. I'm on Chris Barnett by knockout, and I'm on Chris Barnett as a parlay piece.
That's interesting. I would not be that confident in either one of these two, but do you know what I'd be confident in? One of these two guys not having enough gas in the tank to make it to the judges. So if you give me fight doesn't go to the decision by minus 154, I will take that and I will cash out because I don't expect either one of these two guys to have enough cardio to maybe even get through halfway of round number 2. So if you were giving me minus 150 on a fight doesn't go to decision on these two guys that are known to get a finish or get finished, I'll take it. I'll take that all day.
I don't blame you.
Hey, what's up, Mark? Appreciate you coming on, joining us for this evening. Cashing some bets this weekend. UFC 268 on tap. Looking forward to it. All right, moving forward, because enough about that horrible heavyweight fight. I'll be making some food during that. Moving on into the welterweight division, we have a fight between the new UFC debuter, big-time prospect, Cage Warriors welterweight champion, Ian Garry, taking on Jordan Williams. Right now, Garry is a minus 375 favorite, and a comeback on Jordan Williams. It's a plus 280 underdog. Who do you got?
Gotcha. I have a rule. I'm not gonna ever lay that kind of chalk on someone making their UFC debut. Just stupid. How many times does that blow up in your face? To be honest with you, I don't know that Ian Garry could beat you in a fight. In all honesty, I mean, you could say he beats guys in England, but Garrett Kerman's a tough East Coast guy. He's not a guy in England. So if I don't know if he can beat Garrett in a fight, I'm probably too old. So
bro, you need to go watch Ian Garry. This kid is legit. He's only 23 years old.
Yeah.
He's 7-0, but he had a 6-1 amateur record as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid's good on the mic. The kid's got, he's got the it factor. And they're giving him a fight where he can win against Jordan Williams. I mean,
yeah, and you're right about that.
You see just how bad he was against Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall looked like a world-class, MMA fighter. Like, this dude could strike, he could grapple. I mean, granted, Mickey Gall is a good fighter, and he's progressing. He's gotten better, a lot better. But, I mean, come on, man. I mean, he just looked like an elite MMA fighter against Jordan Williams. Jordan Williams had that one oh my god moment on the Contender Series where he knocked out RoboCop, and that was done. After that, it was just like everything left.
Yeah, maybe I should put my name in here, like Colin RoboCop Crandall. Maybe that might be awesome. I might have to think about that, or the MMA RoboCop.
The MMA RoboCop.
I like that. That might be it. But anyway. Yeah, no, I believe it. He's with Sanford MMA. He's out of Dublin, Ireland. I love my Irish friends, man. I had a roommate from Ireland who I'm still in touch with, and this is like 12 years ago. Really, really cool dude. Yeah, so he probably wins this fight. You're right. I didn't even bother to look at Jordan Williams as the opponent. So probably Ian Garry wins. But in all honesty, it's still a big no for – not only that, who lays that chalk anyway? You don't want to lay that chalk anyway as a gambler.
Right. You're right. You don't want to lay minus 375 on Ian Garry. Maybe throw him in a few parlays. Don't anchor him in because, one thing that Jordan Williams does have, he does have a good right hand. He can crack. He can put anybody out. Like I said, he knocked out somebody, like RoboCop, Gregory Rodriguez. I mean, that dude's huge. He's built like a brick house. And, he laid one right hand on him and he put him down. So that's very impressive. So, that could happen. I just don't see it happening. Like I said, this Ian Garry kid, he's the real deal. He's like a Paddy Pimblett, except better. I mean, he talks good on the mic. He's kind of like a Conor McGregor type of, persona. He's even met Conor McGregor when he was like 14, 15 years old. It kind of emulates him. And normally fighters out of, Dublin, Ireland do the same. So you're expecting a lot of show-stopping abilities, a lot of flashy technique, and he's want to go in there and get a finish. And him coming to Sanford, I think that kind of just leveled him up there.
Yep, absolutely, man. Next thing he'll be doing the level up challenge.
We have a good question here. Do you think it's luck at times over overall skill and talent?
You want to go first, or should I?
You could go ahead.
Okay. Good question, Mark. Majority of success that fighters attain and achieve is not by luck. You can't luck into being really good at any kind of a fight, even a street fight. However, in a street fight, there's more of a chance of luck because of the circumstances. In a fight that you're prepared for in a cage with multiple skill sets being available, like an MMA fight, I mean, here's what I will say. There's always fights where someone catches someone and the other person that got caught quick still ends up having a great career or even becoming a champion. Once in a while, yes, if you're both really good and someone who proves to be really, really good even later in their career just got caught, there's some luck to that. Because in all honesty, if you make a move and a wrong move, or you step down, or a guy actually does a Superman punch and changes the distance, some shit can happen. But then you could call it luck, or you could also just call it doing something out of the box, doing something unorthodox. So I think luck plays a very small part, albeit a part.
Do you know where luck plays a massive part?
Where?
In the judging.
Yes, absolutely.
That's where your luck comes into play. You go to a decision, and that's where it's all luck. You can play the lottery because that's how lucky you'll get.
It's a shame, and it shouldn't be that way, but it is.
You could dominate a fight. You think you got it in the bag, and you're hearing, what? This person thinks that I lost all 3 rounds? And you're like, well, shit, I don't know what I'm doing then, I guess.
Yep. Very good point.
That's the only place I see luck. I mean, granted, when you get just a flash knockout, I guess you could call luck, but at the same time, that person landed that perfect punch. Right. Everybody has that button. When you press that button, you're gonna go out. I mean, you could
also call the leg breaks from low leg kicks. That's some bad luck that you just caught on the sweet spot of your leg, because so many guys are kicking low kicks and not breaking their own legs, But for good luck to take you to victory is not a big part of it. Both agree, except for the judges.
Mark says some guys look like they have the kill factor, but sometimes someone could catch the better overall trained skill fighter off guard. Yes, you're right. Someone could get lucky, but an overall skilled fighter will go further in MMA. That is correct. Right.
Absolutely.
That is true. Anything can happen. We've seen it. Lesser skill fighters like Matt Serra versus George St. Pierre. Okay. Matt Serra 9 out of 10 times is losing a fight against George St. Pierre. And then one time he got that one, nice knockout, and he won, and he got it. Anybody can win at any given time. Yes. But at the end of the day, if they run it back out of 10 times, the more skilled fighter is gonna win much more than the less skilled fighter.
Agreed. 100%.
All right, moving on. In our next fight in the middleweight division between Edmen Shahbazyan and Nasruddin Imavov. Right now, Imavov is a -115 favorite, and come back on Shahbazyan is a -105. It's basically pick him. He's a -105 favorite as well. Who you got?
So let's break this down. 3 fights in the UFC for the Frenchman Nasruddin Imavov, 6'3", 26 years old, training out of MMA Factory. And he is coming off a big win, finishing Ian Heinisch in the second round with punches. Before that, he lost a majority decision to Phil Hawes, and Phil Hawes is a beast. So that's actually pretty impressive.
I don't know if that should have been. I thought that was unanimous 29-20. I don't know. I mean, he
still a good fight.
He rocked him a bit in round 3, but I mean, he was dominated in the first 2 rounds. But due to just cage control and ground.
Right, which Hawes has on everyone pretty much. And then he beat the aforementioned Jordan Williams, which is not that impressive. And then he was fighting over in France or wherever the hell these other places are. So his last fight was in July. So he had against Heinisch. Edmen Shahbazyan has not fought since May. He's got the 2 back-to-back losses. August of last year, Derek Brunson, he had never gone up against anyone with that wrestling and didn't react well. Jack Hermanson had the threat of the heel hook and other submissions, and I think he hung in there pretty well, but it looked like he was just not comfortable trying to get close to Jack Hermanson and lost that fight. He's been training at AKA. I think he went to a couple other places. He's a really good dude. I've had him on my show a few times in the last couple of years. Just 23 years old now. 6'2", 185. This is a tough fight. These are both very young guys. I mean, 26 and 23. Imavov is very rarely going to be the older guy in his fight, but man, I like Edmund. I think that if he practices wrestling and doesn't have to be really afraid of the ground game.
Well, the wrestling is not going to be a factor here. If anybody's initiating the grappling, it's going to be Shabazian.
Right. So especially in a case like this with a guy like Imavov, I really think the more skilled striker is Shabazian. I think Imavov is a talented dude, but I think he may just get wiped out. I think there's levels in striking, and I think Shabazian is something special when it comes to his distance, control of distance, his how precise his punches are, when he pulls the trigger, and his accuracy. And so I really like Edmund Shabazian in this spot a lot.
Yeah, it's man, I like Shabazian as well. I mean, I think he's beaten the better competition. He's beaten Darren Stewart. He's beaten Brad Tavares. That's an impressive win. Knocking out Brad Tavares is not an easy thing to do. Imavov has looked great as well. I mean, he looked extremely impressive against Ian Heinisch. He defended all the takedowns against Heinisch. Granted, Heinisch is not the best wrestler out there, but he's defending them all. He was able to use his range, his distance striking is very, very good. He used that karate type of stance, great movement, heavy on that lead leg, but he's got a sniper left hand. He'll just throw that right at you and floor your ass. That's what he did, against Heinisch. It was very impressive. Edmund, on the other hand, came up back-to-back losses, first time in his career. But against best of the best. You're talking about Derek Brunson, who's on an absolute tear, and Jack Hermanson, who's still top 6, 7 in the division. And they're grapplers. He's finally getting guys that he can strike against. And what does he do against guys he strike against? He knocks them out. He's the bigger, taller fighter. Shit. Taller fighter. I'm breaking things over here, but you can keep going.
That's okay. I'll continue. He is. He's just he's in this. Apparently, they're making it a 1-inch height advantage for. There you go. Beautiful. Perfect. 1-inch height advantage for Imavov, but that may not be the case. There's always a difference. It could turn out that Edmund is taller by an inch. It just seems like there's a lot of mistake in the SureDog database. Anyway, but yeah, striking. It's and Imavov is tough. He's just tough, and a lot of these French fighters are fighting hard and are very skillful. That we've seen come up lately. But yeah, I mean, either this is going to be a really close competitive striking match, or it's going to be Shabazian wiping out Imavov fairly quickly. I just don't know which.
I don't know, man. I'm definitely going to bet Shabazian. I bet him already. I had him at plus 105 earlier in the week. I just felt, obviously, money was coming in. I felt, this could be a fight he could win. It's a 50-50 fight. Both guys are very good strikers. And I'll take the underdog there. I'm taking the underdog shot on Shabazian early in the week because, it's going to be a 50-50 striking affair. And I think, Shabazian is the more, skilled fighter, and he has the takedowns in his back pocket if he wanted to. Shabazian still has averaging 2.97 takedowns per 15 minutes. So he has the takedowns if he wants to. And we've seen with Phil Hawes that Imavov could get taken down. But my only drawback with him going in and going for takedowns, his gas tank might not last 3 rounds if he's going grapple heavy. That's my only drawback here. I'm hoping he doesn't do that. Hoping he's using his boxing and he mixes up the takedowns here and there. You don't need to go grapple heavy because you have striking. strike. Use your boxing. You're at Glendale Boxing Club. You got the striking. Use it. And use the takedowns. Just mix it up. Keep him honest because he's gonna have to. When you level change, he's gotta put his hands down. When you level change, you kick him with the right hand. Put his lights out. So I think he's a more skilled fighter. I think he's a more well-rounded fighter. I think he's fought the better competition, as we've seen already in the last 2 fights, way better. And I think he gets back on track here. Not something I'm going to go out and bet a whole lot of money on, but I like I said, I like the early in the week plus 105 where we're getting a good line there.
Agreed.
Let's keep it moving because this thing fell behind me. My bad, everybody. Technical difficulties here and there. Man, Alex, don't be coming in here talking. If y'all bet on Edmund, I feel sorry for y'all money. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, just like our president says, come on, man.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. What are you doing to us here, brother?
All right, moving on. Next fight up, we have a fight in the middleweight division between Phil Hawes and Chris Curtis. Right now, Hawes is a minus 375 favorite. And the comeback on Curtis is a plus 285 underdog. Who you got?
Yeah. What I don't understand is people overlooking the fact that Chris Curtis is a welterweight. And he's going up to middleweight here.
He's not. He's hybrid. He does both. Okay. He's like a Hamzat, except not as built as Hamzat. You know
right.
What I mean?
He just seems like he's going to be the smaller man against.
In terms of muscle, yes.
Yeah.
But height-wise, he's got a decent.
Well, he's an inch. He's supposed to be an inch shorter. They say Hawes is an inch taller than Curtis, which is not much. Yeah. But at least on Sherdog. But in any case, so we have a UFC debuter here, having fought in the PFL. He did lose to 2 very, very tough guys, and we're talking about Curtis. Did lose to Cooper and Magomedov. All 3 fights were welterweight. I just think that this is a bad debut. Not only that, how do you make someone fight Phil Hawes in their debut? That's just being thrown to the dogs.
Well, I don't know if the UFC has something out against Chris Curtis because granted, he had one of the nastiest knockouts in Contender Series history, and he wasn't ever signed. He had a nasty head kick knockout in round 3. And they didn't sign him. And mind you, he went on and won numerous fights after that. He's won numerous titles in different organizations. He's fought at the PFL against the 2 champions. He fought for the championship on a couple hours' notice.
Yeah, well,
against Ray Cooper. You talking about he took a fight against Ray Cooper after he just fought.
Right.
That same night.
Yeah, which is amazing. But
you can't. This guy has been through it all. He doesn't even have title aspirations. He has, I want to go out there, do some crazy shit, and make money, and that's what he's gonna do. I love his personality. I love him as a person. He's a great guy, and he finally got a shot on the big stage.
Yep, but I have Phil Hawes all day. No money to be made laying that chalk. I got Phil Hawes as an integral parlay piece. Not any thoughts about how he wins because there's no way to know with an X factor like Curtis. But Hawes is a parlay piece for me is where I'm going.
Yeah, I feel like if there's any bet on here that I'd make is maybe taking a shot on Chris Curtis in round 3, and just like you could throw if you have. Fuck you money or, money you could just throw away. Mm-hmm. I think it's Curtis in round 3 is plus 2,600.
Wow.
Or plus 1,800, depending on.
Yeah, that'd be great to hit something like that.
It's possible. We've seen Hawes time and time again fade going wrestle heavy approach. Is he going to stand and trade in the center against Chris Curtis? Absolutely not. So he's going to go and get takedowns. And if Curtis is able to, work back to his feet, get taken down again, work back to his feet, get taken down again, Hawes can do that for 2 rounds. We've seen it against Imavov. He gassed against Imavov. And Imavov almost, if he actually let his hands go, he probably would have beaten Hawes. Chris Curtis, if he lets his hands go in round 3, he could put it on him and get a win. And if you're getting over plus 1,000 on a round 3 prop on Chris Curtis, throw $10 on it.
Why not? It couldn't hurt. Even $5.
$5, $10, even $1. $1 wins you 10 times your money or more than that. I mean, I'm just saying it's worth the gamble. We are gambling as it is, but there's sometimes you take shots like that and it pays off, and sometimes it doesn't. It happens, but when it happens big. And like we said, there are patterns with MMA betting, and you see the patterns like Andrew Sanchez. A guy that notoriously gets knocked out in round 3. He's got knocked out in round 3, I think 3 or 4 times in the UFC. His last fight, dominating round 1, dominating round 2, gets knocked out in round 3. Anthony Smith dominates round 1, dominates round 2, and knocked down in round 3. It's like sometimes it's just a thing. These trends do stay true, especially in MMA.
Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Both. Just had to throw that one out there.
All right, let's move on. Our next fight up is in the lightweight division between Bobby Green and Al Iaquinta. Right now, Bobby Green's a minus 178 favorite, and the comeback on Iaquinta is a plus 144 underdog. Who do you got?
This fight is just so weird. I mean, raging Al Iaquinta went the distance with Khabib. That's hard to do.
Yes.
And it was on short notice too, although a lot of people
it was like 2 days notice, right?
Yeah, but a lot of people try to say to give that to Khabib for not having finished him. I don't think so. I think give that to Al for doing that well against a beast on a couple days notice.
Yes.
Problem is, at 34 years old, he has not fought in 2 years and 1 month, and his last 2 fights were losses where he didn't look very good.
And one of his losses was to Donald Cerrone.
Right. That, to me, tell me if you're with me. I think I had like 4 units on Iaquinta in that fight. And
I think I had Iaquinta in that fight, but man, did he shit the bed. That was bad.
He really, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what are you doing there?
And mind you, that same fighter is only plus 144 against Bobby Green, who just went to war with Rafael Fiziev.
Yes. And so in reality, the Al Iaquinta, who had been fighting and doing a lot of winning, in fact, had a 5-fight win streak going into his Khabib fight in 2018, is not the 34-year-old Al Iaquinta now.
Who's now a real estate
a real estate agent now? Yeah. Question is though, is he really, really serious? Did he train his ass off? Is he injury free, or at least as much as you can be? And is he wanting to come out here at 34 and see if he can get another contract or 2 and fight another 3 or 6 UFC fights, or does he know that he's not going to be able to do it? Anyway, let's take a look at the size. 5'7", 155 for Al. Bobby Green has got to be 2 inches taller, 3 inches taller, 5'10". I think there may not be that big a height difference between them as it shows here, but nevertheless, 35 years old, so the slightly older fighter is Bobby Green, but he has been fighting regularly. Bobby Green is a fighter that the judges seem to not like. You and I were talking before we went on the air that judges see a guy that has a lot of losses against a guy who only has a couple losses or a few losses. They tend to almost want to give a decision to the more winning fighter. Now, in this case, even though Green has double the losses of Al has 6 losses, so I don't know if that will play a factor here, because it's usually if the one fighter has like 2 losses or less, will the judges not want to screw up his really good record? And I don't think. Anyway, bottom line is, though, Bobby Green has been looking really, really good. He's 27-12, but he really could be like 31 and 7. I mean, he's so many close, great fights. His last fight, he looked really good against Fiziev. He looked pretty good against Thiago Moises before that. So I would think this is all going to be Bobby Green.
And we're getting a good line here.
Yeah, this is a good line. I would, and you know what? I think late money might be waiting for, but you know what? A lot of the wise guys and the bettors seem to be in the East Coast, right? And Iaquinta is an East Coast guy. So
Money's coming in on Bobby Green. I think it should settle around 225, 235.
Right. So
that's
now
where
is the time to bet. Right. That's what I think. So now is the time to bet on Bobby Green, and I would. I mean, Al is so tough, though.
Yeah, he's not gonna get finished, but I mean, man, I hate taking Bobby Green fights. I know it's gonna go into a decision, but
yeah.
It's hard not to take him here.
No, at these odds, you can bet him straight. I mean, because it's only minus 145 or whatever. Yeah, straight bet Bobby Green, I feel, and I maybe would bet 1 unit, just not a super certainty as with some of the other fights. Although I don't know, I may change it and go 1.5 or 2 units, but you don't know which Al Iaquinta we're going to see. But I still think Bobby Green should get this victory. I think it's going to be a close fight, and I think almost for sure it's going the decision. Would you not agree?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to decision. If anybody's getting a finish, it's going to be Bobby Green with the right hand, but I don't see that happening. I don't think anybody's getting finished here. And I expect Bobby Green to just outstrike him. I mean, he's the better boxer. He's the bigger, longer fighter. He's very good at keeping his range. And Al Iaquinta, he has to fight forever. Like, what was it, almost 2 years or so? And, he's coming off 2 losses, very bad losses, very one-sided losses as well. And Bobby Green has looked great. He's looked great. Even in his losses, he's looked great. Thiago Moises, he definitely won. He got shafted that decision. Fiziev, he arguably could have won that fight too.
I thought he won that too. Yeah, coming.
So you got 2 back-to-back fights that could have gone the other way, and he's going against a guy that hasn't fought in a while. He has to put in the work like Bobby Green has. He has been in the basically his best shape like Bobby Green has. I'm going Bobby Green. I think he outstrikes him handily on the feet, and hoping and praying we get the right call on the judges' scorecards. But, we're at a point where you can bet Bobby Green and just hedge, Al Iaquinta by decision, and, you should make out either way. Because of the fact that Bobby Green should win, but you might get screwed
by the judges.
And then you can hedge on Al Iaquinta by decision, which gets you, where is it at? Plus 300. It's an easy hedge spot because, because Bobby Green is not going to knock out Iaquinta, at least I don't think. I'm pretty certain he's not going to. And Al Iaquinta could squeak out a bullshit-ass decision that he shouldn't have won.
Yep.
And you get plus 300 to cover it.
Yep.
So that's the way I would bet this. I would, or you could bet both sides. Look at this. You could bet Bobby Green to win by decision minus 150, and bet the other side at plus 300. But yeah, I do think Bobby Green wins. Hopefully we don't get screwed on the judges' scorecards, but he should win. He's a better fighter now. He's got the higher ceiling, and he's in it to win it. I don't know. I think Al's there to get a big paycheck because he's going to get paid. Win or lose, he's getting more than Bobby Green because he is from New York. He is somebody that brings out a lot of people, a lot of eyes, tickets, ticket sales, all that stuff.
So and this is at Madison Square Garden. Is that MSG,
exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And that's why he's on this card, and that's why he probably took the fight. I just think Bobby Green's hungrier. I think he's just the better fighter right now. And I think minus 178, even minus 180, minus 185, still a good line as well.
Especially right now when it's like 140, 150, definitely.
Oh, yeah. All right, next up, we got a fight in the middleweight division between UFC debuter Alex Pereira and Andreas
Michailidis or something.
Michailidis. Yeah. Pereira is a minus 260 favorite on the newcomer against Michailidis, who's plus 205 underdog. Who do you got?
The newcomer has a record of 3-1 and no amateur fights.
And if nobody knows who Alex Pereira is, he is the man, the only man to defeat Israel Adesanya outside of the UFC in kickboxing. I think he beat him twice as well, and he knocked him out.
Yeah. Wow. So that definitely, he's a very good striker. He's training over with Glover Teixeira, it looks like.
Who will be in his corner.
Nice. So I'm liking Michailidis in this one.
Really?
Yeah,
What's he gonna do to win?
I just think that he's gonna be he's a much more experienced fighter. I will say this. I would go for literally like a quarter of a unit on Michailidis. I'm not sure. Pereira is unproven in MMA. He probably wins. I'm not liking it. I don't want to lay that chalk. I don't want to put him in a parlay. And I just have a feeling something weird could happen in that fight. I think Michailidis is way more experienced and also a good striker in his own right. Losing to Bukauskas, who's since been booted out of the UFC, is not a great look for sure.
And he's been knocked out 3 other times prior to that as well.
Yes, he has. He has. So,
but all 4 losses by knockout.
That's true. I still think, though, if just to throw a twist in there, I'm going to go dog or pass here just because I can't trust
that
with 4 fights in his UFC debut.
I'm pretty confident that Pereira is going to come in there and absolutely knock Michailidis clean out. Absolutely destroys him. Reason being because Michailidis is coming in thinking he's going to go in there and grapple Pereira. He could probably get him down. But what happens when he gets back up? Because, I mean, you haven't had a submission since 2014. We're talking 7 years ago. That was your last submission. All of your wins are normally by first round knockout. So if your bread and butter is your striking and you're going to go in and grapple, and we know that you're a known gasser, and you're going to come in there with a grapple-heavy approach, you're going to gas even quicker than you normally do. He didn't look good in his last fight against KB Bular, who he should have absolutely wiped off the face of the planet, and you went 15 minutes with the guy. Didn't even knock him down. And what are you going to do against Pereira? You're going to come in there, you're going to grapple him, you're going to get a submission? Probably not. The man's been working his ground game for a while with Glover Teixeira. I know he's had 1 rear naked choke loss on his record, but since then, I believe he's gone 3-0, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Pereira's got some insane power. And this guy was fighting at over 200 pounds in Glory Kickboxing, and he's now down at 185. That power translates very well. And like I said, Michailidis has gotten knocked out 4 times. In each one of his losses, he's been knocked out. So I am taking Pereira to win by knockout, -105. You're giving me Pereira, who only wins by knockout at even money. I'll take it. It's the only way to bet him.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't even put him in an anchor parlay because shit happens, and he could just shit the bed in his UFC debut. That's why I'll take the knockout at -105.
Makes sense. I would agree. I think it's okay. I'm not agreeing in that I agree with that bet, but I think that makes sense out of the bets you can choose from. If you like,
I just don't see Michailidis being able to be sufficient in his grappling. I don't see him being able to hold him down. I don't think I'm being able to see him be strong enough to take him down. I mean, he's also a lot smaller. I mean, he's 2 or 3 inches smaller. Mass and muscle wise, he's way smaller. And I just don't think he has the jiu-jitsu to really take advantage of the lapse of jiu-jitsu of Pereira on the mat. So we'll see what happens. I think a little bit higher of Pereira than probably most, but this is a fight. I feel like it's a gimme fight. You're talking about they're giving him a guy that's primarily a striker that's been knocked out 4 times against a world-class kickboxer with numerous knockouts, who's knocked out your cash cow Israel Adesanya in his realm of kickboxing. So they're trying to give him a layup here, and I think this is the layup, and I think he comes in with flying colors. Would I fade him moving forward in the right spots? Yeah, but I don't think they're giving him someone that he could lose to in his UFC debut.
Yeah, you could be right. We will see. We'll find out day after tomorrow.
All right. Moving on to the main card. We are on our first fight on the main card in the lightweight division between Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. Right now, Gaethje is a -220 favorite, and the comeback on Chandler is a +176 underdog. Who do you got?
This is a really interesting fight, as everyone knows. I've actually followed nearly all of their professional fights because
you did World Series of Fighting too?
Yes, absolutely. If you look back on our show in 2017, I was talking about Justin Gaethje on like one show a month in 2017. I was telling UFC,
and we see why.
Right. Yep. I was telling UFC fighters to look out for Justin Gaethje when he was in the World Series of Fighting on our show. And so, yeah, I've been watching him for years. And then also, I have been watching Michael Chandler in nearly every single Bellator fight he has been in. So let's take a look at the fights. He lost to Eddie Alvarez after beating him, and I think they had a third match. It doesn't matter. No, maybe they didn't. They never did they? Wait, I thought they did. Eddie Alvarez. He lost the first fight. No, he won the first fight against Eddie, and then he lost against Eddie, and then they never did have that third match because Eddie went to the UFC. So he also lost against Ill Will Brooks twice, who was a fighter who was good but didn't have any success in the UFC. He lost against Brent Primus with a good low leg kick. He lost by getting caught by Pitbull. That's a concern because Pitbull's not a big lightweight. He's a small lightweight.
Yeah, he is.
Because he also fought at featherweight still, recently. Then got stopped by Oliveira. I mean, Oliveira's a skillful guy, but submitting people more than stopping them. So at 35, Michael Chandler's chin, I think, is not what it was even 5 years ago. Justin Gaethje is going to be taller, have length and reach on him. Justin Gaethje, aside from being submitted by Khabib, did get KO'd by Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier early in his UFC career. In fact, that Alvarez fight, they really put him up against it as a younger fighter in only his second fight, and he was in that fight until he wasn't. And that was the Gaethje that was Terminator Gaethje. That was like the Arturo Gatti for old boxing fans.
Yeah.
Gaethje, before he cared at all about any head movement. That was that Gaethje. Against Dustin Poirier, again, he went toe-to-toe with a guy who I've been saying for years, but now people finally see it, is one of the best strikers in our sport, especially one of the best boxers if you combine boxing technique, power, accuracy, and chin. And so there was no shame in that. So to me, I think the chinnier of the two is Chandler.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that with Gaethje being 32, 3 years younger than Chandler, taller, less chinny, I think this is Gaethje's fight. I think that I just honestly don't think that Gaethje is going to let Chandler just take a pot shot at him with his T-Rex arms and land a knockout. I don't see it.
It's gonna be the grappling.
I think so too, and I think they're both very good wrestlers. I think Gaethje is younger. I think probably Gaethje has less damage on him over the years. Similar amount of fights, but I just think this is Justin Gaethje's fight. I mean, I'll probably go more than just one unit, but it's not like one of these big bets where I'm saying 4, 5, 6 units. I'm talking about probably 2 units on Gaethje and put him in a parlay. I like Justin Gaethje here. I think it's going to be exciting. I think I would go over if it's like 1.5 on this fight.
It is 1.5.
I like the over. Over. I don't know that it goes a distance. So again, I might do one of my middle prop bets here where I bet over 1.5, but like under 2.5, or no, maybe even
or you could do over 1.5
and then yes, right. That's probably what I'm going to do. Straight bet Gaethje, and then over 1.5 hedged with fight does not go the distance. What do you think of that?
I think it's good.
That's my thoughts.
Yeah, when it comes to Gaethje and Chandler, obviously this is arguably going to be fight of the year. These two guys are going to come to war And then we'll see who's the last man standing. And I do think Gaethje will be the last man standing in this one. You're also getting Gaethje by knockout at plus 100. That's not bad at all. You're getting it from minus 220 down to plus 100. I just don't see Chandler being able to make it, the distance against, Gaethje. Gaethje hits hard. I mean, he hits hard. And on top of it, Chandler, when asked, what are you going to do about Gaethje's leg kicks? And he's like, he's not going to check him, he says. I'm like, okay. All right. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
That strategy is definitely not going to work well. We already seen what happened against Brent Primus, so we know he's susceptible to low kicks. He doesn't check low kicks. And you can watch numerous amounts of tape. The man just doesn't check leg kicks. And, Gaethje is going to hammer that leg. I say the first 3, he's going to be hobbling. Just 3.
I think so. I mean, Chandler is such a tough guy. He's training so hard for this. He's a nice guy, but
I got nothing against him. I just don't think he's going to beat Gaethje. I mean, and you're gonna see Chandler probably catch one of those calf kicks, take him down off an ankle pick. He's gonna get him down to the mat at least once, twice. He maybe get some control time. He may even win a round. But at the end of the day, Gaethje's eventually gonna blast him. He's gonna blast him with low kicks. He's gonna blast him with the right hand, and he's gonna put him away. And he's gonna get the win, probably a title shot. And that's that.
Agreed.
All right, next up, we got a fight at bantamweight division between Marlon Vera and Frankie Edgar. Right now, Vera is a minus 150 favorite, and the comeback on Edgar is a plus 125 underdog. What do you got?
All right, and that's just to save time here. I'm going to start maybe shortening up my.
No, you're good. Don't worry.
So, this is such a weird fight. I mean, my heart is with Edgar. Edgar's got to be finally 40, or is he still? Yep, finally he's 40. For years, everyone thought he's 40. And it's 35, 36, 37, 38. Like, he's not 40. No, finally he is 40. And that doesn't mean the death knell of his skills at all. He got caught by Corey Sandhagen, but looked really good just over a year ago in the split decision over Pedro Munoz. Man, I mean, he's way more experienced than Marlon Vera. But at this point, with 25 fights, Vera is pretty much a veteran. 28 years old. He's just entering his prime. Chito is a good dude. I had a great interview with him about a year and a half ago. Great school over there with Team Colin Oyama. They've been killing it during the pandemic here. Chito beating Davey Grant, coming up a little short against Jose Aldo. I mean, it's, is this going to be the passing of the torch or is it not? For Chito and his team, that's what they're believing. They're believing that if Chito Vera is legit, which he is, he should beat a 40-year-old Frankie Edgar. He just should. But I will say this. If you're not on point the whole fight, if you have any hesitation, if you have any doubt in yourself, if you do any stupid shit or gas, a 40-year-old Frankie Edgar will beat your ass, to form a rhyme. So the odds makers are feeling Chito Vera, but not by a lot, are they? No, not by a lot. Well, 175, 180. I hate to see Frankie lose again, but I think he will here. Chito Vera is a beast. Chito Vera told me something when I asked him. I said, how are you getting all these knockouts at bantamweight? And most people aren't. And he said, I'm willing to put myself in some bad positions to get success. I'm willing to have a high risk of reward. A lot of people don't want to do that. I'm willing to jump in the fire, take the fire so that I can be in a position to finish someone. And I think that intensity and that confidence and that focus, all it's going to come down to is if Frankie Edgar can turn the clock back to when he totally grapple fucked, what do you call him, Yair Rodriguez. If we could see that Frankie Edgar here, then that's something that could be done. But how far back do we have to go? 2017. I don't think Frankie is quite what he was 4 years ago. But that
could be enough to beat Vera, though.
It could. I hate this fight, but I'm going Chito Vera with some degree of confidence, but it's a 1-unit bet, and that's the only bet on that particular fight. Who knows where that goes? More than likely, it's probably maybe going the distance, but I don't know. I hate to say it, but
I don't think Vera's getting a finish.
He probably won't, but Edgar's getting older and a little chinny. He just is. You know what I mean?
I guess, but you're talking about Vera, who hasn't had a knockdown since 2019, and he's had 6 fights since then. He hasn't had a knockdown in any one of them. He's not a powerful puncher. He's a volume puncher. He overwhelms you with volume and that. And then you also look at his resume. He's not beaten a single fighter on the level of Frankie Edgar in his entire career. His best win is Andre Ewell.
I thought he beat Song Yadong. I really feel
that's the thing. He's 3-7 in decisions. He's got a 30% win rate when it hits the judges. His entire
That's why he's going to go for it. That's why he goes for it.
But the thing is, he always is a slow starter. He tends to lose round 1 a majority of his fights. So now he's got to go balls to the wall in rounds 2 and 3. And guess what? If you slip up and lose one of those rounds, you're done. And that's what happened with Jose Aldo. That's what happened in Song Yadong's fight as well. And that's all you got to do is get stuck underneath Frankie Edgar for a couple minutes. And then there goes that round, and you lost that round. And then we know that Vera is susceptible to getting taken down. Vera is susceptible to getting controlled, like Jose Aldo did in round 3. There is a path to victory for Frankie. I wouldn't go balls out and bet on Vera just because, Frankie's shop worn. Yeah, he's been knocked out, I think, 3 of the last 4 losses, and I get it. But they're against guys that can knock out Vera as well. Yeah. It's not like he's going against guys that don't have knockout power, like a Davey Grant, or Andre Ewell, Nolan Hernandez. Right. I mean, Vera has not beaten good competition. He's fought good competition in 2 of his last 4, but he's not beaten any good competition. I wouldn't put Sean O'Malley in there because Sean O'Malley hasn't proven to us that he's good yet. Right. Because he hasn't beaten anybody good yet. So it's going to be interesting. It could be, like you said, passing of the torch, and Frankie is completely done. But I'm going to take a shot on Frankie to win the decision at plus 200. I'm getting 2-1 on it being a close fight. If it goes to a decision, it's a close fight, guaranteed. If Vera wins outright, it's dominating, it's probably he's going to get a finish.
Yeah, sounds like we're singing a similar song, Yadong.
All right, moving on. Let's keep it rolling because we're getting along into it.
Yes.
Next up, we got a fight at 145 pounds between Billy Quarantillo and Shane Burgos. Right now, Burgos is a minus 200 favorite, and the comeback on Quarantillo is a plus 160 underdog. What do you got?
Well, I like the Burgos is eating burgers, and the Quarantillo is beating the armadillo. Is what I'm going to say on this. That was dumb as fuck, but I thought I'd do that.
It sounded better in my head.
Hey, there we go. Right, I couldn't let the whole show go by without a dad joke. But anyway, so we got the burgers against the armadillo, and I think an armadillo can beat a guy who's eating burgers and doesn't expect the attack from the killer armadillo, Billy Quarantillo. Now, I know he's a personal friend of yours, the Killer Armadillo. You can let him know I think that's the new nickname instead of what he already has now, which is nothing. He doesn't have a nickname. The Killer Armadillo. Please mention, well, maybe not. Anyway, I like Billy Q. Billy Q is great. I don't know why he's a dog in this fight. I think he is live. I think Shane Burgos has seen better days. He's a beast. Shane Burgos is a killer, but he doesn't have the grappling, I think, that Billy Q does. I think he's a little bit more chinny than Billy Q. I think Billy Q is on the upswing in his career with one hiccup against Gavin Tucker. No shame in that. And Shane Burgos isn't. I like Billy Q a lot here. I'm not saying several units, but I think Billy Q, like a unit, maybe a unit and a half, maybe 2 units. I like the odds, and I think Billy Q is live in that fight. I might even put him in a parlay, but especially straight bet Billy Q for the win.
Yeah, it's this is a very tough stylistic matchup for Billy Q. For Billy, Burgos is tough. He's very long. He's very rangy. Throws a ton of volume. Great hands. And even though he got knocked out, against Edson Barbosa, the dude has got a good chin. He does got a really good chin.
He does.
Sometimes it's too much for his own good. But he puts it on his opponents. He gets in there. He gets in their face and he puts the pace. He puts the pressure on them. I don't know if Quarantilla's wrestling is good enough to stifle the forward motion, the forward pressure, and the volume of Shane Burgos. Mike Juan Americani, who is levels above Billy Q when it comes to wrestling, couldn't keep him down. Anyway, I think 3 for 11 on takedowns. Burgos has, I think, 80-something% in his takedown defense as well. It's going to be tough for him to get this fight to the mat. I don't think he's going to be able to get this fight to the mat. I think it's going to be a stand-up, brawl, and we'll see, pretty much who's the last one standing there. It's going to be a really good fight. And look, Burgos has an 89% takedown defense. That's incredible. The only thing that, faults him is that he gets hit too much. But I don't think Billy has the power of Edson, has the power of Josh Emmett, has the power of Calvin Kattar. I don't believe he possesses that type of power. He doesn't possess that one punch in your mouth, gonna knock you down type of power. So I think Burgos, I think Burgos gets the win here. I'm rooting for Billy, but I think Burgos is the right side. I think Burgos gets a W, gets back into the win column, and gets it done.
Could be. We'll find out. We'll see what happens. It's gonna be exciting though. Both guys.
Oh no, it's gonna be a great fight. I think that's gonna be that's a very underrated fight. It's gonna contend with Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. I don't think it will surpass it, but it'll do justice. We'll put it that way.
I agree.
All right, we're on to our co-main event in the women's strawweight division. With the champion Rose Namajunas looking to defend her title against Zhang Weili. Right now, the champion is a dog. I think this will be the second time in Rose's career where she was a dog as the champion against Zhang Weili. Right now, Weili is a minus 120 favorite, and the comeback on Namajunas is a plus 100 underdog. Who do you got?
So first of all, this fight should be Rose Namajunas against Carla Esparza. Period.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. This is wrong. This fight shouldn't be taking place. Second thing is, how do you knock someone out in the first round with a head kick and then ground them out, and then you're the dog against them in the next fight when neither of you have had a fight since then? I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. Now, does it mean that it should be like minus 400 or 500 Rose? No.
But the same thing happened when Rose knocked out Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She knocked her out, and then she was a dog in the next fight.
Yeah, just strange, man. I just think if people are not believing in Rose, maybe they think she's a head case or something like that, based on the fact that she did have her demons, and it was a little bit tougher for her when she was first a champ. But I think she's matured a lot. She's in a great space there with Pat Barry in her corner. It's so weird. I mean, you know what the funny thing is? Weili is a nice, gracious person. I've talked to her through interpreters after a couple of fights. Very pleasant woman, and a nice vibe to her. And she's really stylish too. You see, she dresses up in leather a lot and is really kind of a stylish, charismatic woman. It's odd when she lost that fight by just getting caught that she just didn't say I got caught, screw it. the fact that she said it threw her tremendously with people booing her. It's probably honest that it didn't feel good. Maybe it surprised her. I think people have found the United States to be very welcoming. In fact, I have friends from Europe, Africa, Asia, and one of the things they say is people in the United States are so welcoming, sometimes more than people in their own country, or if you move to a different city or state or area. But I think that people really were behind Rose. She's she was from Wisconsin, but has lived in Colorado, West Coast for quite a while. I think also maybe some people were a little bit not feeling the Chinese fighters due to the coronavirus we have and like that. Whatever it was, there was not any love in that fight, and apparently Wei Li said that threw her tremendously. But people are going to do the same thing Saturday night. A, because they want Rose to win. B, if they have any issues with China, which they shouldn't put on the fighters, but you do what you do.
New York, so yeah, definitely.
And right, and it's New York, but still, and then not only that, but some people knowing that apparently that really throws Wei Li are going to bet Rose and go and boo as loud as they can in attendance at the fight. So I would hope and think that's not going to make a difference. Wei Li probably had some concern about the grappling in that fight and probably was not so worried about Rose going for the knockout. I'm not giving her an excuse, but I think she didn't want to be on the ground under Rose. I think she's been training now with Henry Cejudo for 8 months or whatever it is, which does make some difference, but I don't know that it can make a huge difference. Maybe someone of the caliber of Cejudo, maybe it can. But I just think that this is like almost free money. I'm on Rose all day, probably 10 units on Rose Namajunas.
Yeah, I'm definitely not confident like you are. I think it's gonna be a very closely contested fight, much like the Rose Joanna 2 fight. It's gonna be very eerily similar. It's gonna be very, very close all the way to the end. The only bet I really like is the over 4.5 rounds. I think this goes the distance. It's going to be another one of those fights, just like the Rose Joanna 2 fight, back and forth, striking affair, and they just go at it. They just go at it for 25 minutes, and I'll take the over 4.5 rounds and minus 120. It's a very hard fight to call. It really is. I mean, they're very, very evenly matched all around. You got the power of Warley, who's definitely overtakes the power of Rose. Rose has a better grappling, so that kind of offsets their
reach though. Their reach on Rose.
That's true. She's got some reach on her. She's got really good head movement. She's great and light on her feet. It's gonna be a back and forth fight for 25 minutes. I expect a good fight between these two women. And I feel like they're gonna go to a decision. It's gonna be a close one. It's gonna be a close decision. And I think Rose kind of ekes it out. She's very good at winning rounds. She's just a known round winner, and I do think she has the better cardio, being that she trains at altitude over in Colorado. She's got the better cardio of the two. We've seen Zhang tend to fade a little bit in that Joanna fight when she went 25 minutes. So we'll see what happens, but I'm taking the over 4.5 rounds, and I kind of lean Rose to get it done again.
What are the odds on the prop Rose by submission?
Let's see. Give me a second.
I would hope you can get like plus 250, maybe plus 3.
I think you'll get more than that, honestly.
If it's more than that, I'm going to sprinkle some on that.
Give me a second.
If it's like plus 500 or more, I'm going to sprinkle some on that.
Plus 650?
Nice. I like that too. A little sprinkle on that. Rose by sub. Yep. A little magic dust.
All right. Let's get on to the main event. The one fight that everybody's here to see. Kamaru Usman looking to defend his title again for a third time against Colby Covington. Right now, Kamaru Usman's a minus 310 favorite in the comeback on Covington's a plus 240 underdog. Who do you got?
So I've had some good back and forth conversation after fights, and when Kamaru was a special guest at a fight card he was not on in person. I like Kamaru. Kamaru is a respectful guy. He doesn't seem to have any issues with media. He listens to our questions and really thinks of what he wants to say to express his feelings. If it's something that's a challenging question, if it's an easy question, he has respectful answers that are still well thought out. So I like Kamaru Usman as a person. I have nothing against Colby. I've never talked to him. A lot of his persona is K-fob, as they would say in wrestling, or kind of a put on. He is, at least wise enough to politically be on the side of people that have a brain, to be conservative or Republican, other than this absolute insane, ridiculous freak show of the far left Democrats. I'm a libertarian, though, so I'm not a Republican, but I'd rather be a Republican than a Democrat any day of the week. Anyway, so I like where he is on that. I think that people are kind of writing him off here because they're saying how much better Kamaru has become. I don't think this is going to be a walkover. If someone wanted to bet me, like $500 that Colby makes it at least 2 rounds, I'll bet that any day, all day. So that stated, could Kamaru finish this? Possibly. Is it going to be easier than the first fight? I don't really think so. And the first fight wasn't easy either. Most people had it 2 rounds to 2 going into that final round. I know that's what I had it. I think that on paper, Kamaru Usman should win this fight. I think that that I'm going to go for Colby Covington, and I'm going to take the dog money. And I think Colby comes in with wrestling, changes it up, and uses his cardio, and comes in there the hungrier fighter and new Colby Covington.
All right, it's interesting. I like it. Unfortunately, the line is not where we can straight bet on Usman. I do think it's going to be a close fight at some point, but I do think Usman eventually finishes Colby again inside the distance. I do think he gets a knockout. We have not seen, improvements of Colby just yet. We don't know. There's question marks. We don't know his game plan. I do think he's going to mix it up better this time. I don't think he's going to just stand there in the pocket for 25 minutes like he did. And I know he could do that for 25 minutes, but I just don't think he's going to be able to get Usman to the mat. If he does, I don't think he's going to be able to keep him there. Usman's never been taken down. Usman is far bigger, far stronger than Colby as well. So even if he gets into the grappling, I don't think he's going to have a ton of success. Where he's going to have success is if he just throws volume, keeps the pace up and throw volume. And that's what he did well in their first fight. But in their first fight, he wasn't with Trevor Whitman. This time he's with Trevor Whitman. He's been more precise on his striking. He's much more powerful. He's throwing a lot more kicks, big, heavy kicks that he didn't before. He's looking like a more complete fighter than he did before. You're talking about he ended, Gilbert Burns with a jab. He absolutely blasted through, Jorge Masvidal, who no one has finished in the UFC. He's been finished outside the UFC by knockout. So, I know there's massive improvements for Usman. I know that Colby Covington is coming in with massive improvements himself. But I just think Usman is still the top dog. I don't see him losing this fight. I don't see him losing many fights at 170. There's only one true competitor that I do think that can take his time, take his reign from him. We all know his name is Khamzat Chimaev. He's the only one I do think that can take out Kamaru Usman. And I do think he's the only one that can take out Israel Adesanya as well. But we'll see what happens. We'll see if he gets to fight either one of them. Maybe both of them retire before Khamzat even comes in there as a true contender.
That's it, man.
We'll see.
Call it the second coming of Khamzat.
you were trying to call him cum shot.
I wasn't thinking of that. But I like that. Touche.
Wait, you didn't hear Colby Covington?
Did he say that? Oh,
Bro,
no.
That's all he's been saying.
That's hilarious. Well, because wouldn't it be fun if Colby wins and gets this title? Imagine the mad trash talk.
Oh my god! My god! That's the only thing. That's the only reason why I might kind of want him to win.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Yeah, because the champ doesn't do that. People don't. Yeah. What do you call him? Is playing it super professional and respectful.
Yeah.
There's no.
And I totally get that, and that's the way. Yeah. That's who he is as a person.
Yeah.
And he's an awesome, human being. Colby's a great guy too. Outside the persona,
From what I've heard.
He is a great person. So don't think the facade that you see is just him. I mean, he's playing the heel.
Right.
Someone's got to play the heel.
He had to, because remember what he had to do before that? Right. I think it was in 2013.
He had to do it, or he was gonna get cut.
But because before that, he was so frustrated trying to get a fight. He was out there in Ohio or wherever he was living with a placard that said, "We'll fight for food." He actually was doing that because it was like, what can I do? I'm like a D1 All-American. I'm beating everyone. I'm freaking starving because I can only get one fight a year. And so that approach didn't work, right? Clearly that got him nothing. And then it was like, okay, I got to do some shit. And then that's where he went on the true heel thing. Yeah. But his first thought was almost like, I only want to fight. Someone give me a fight so I can eat. And then it's like, oh, you won't? Okay, then fuck you all. I'm going to be a heel. Right.
I don't. Yeah, like I said, I don't fault him for what he does. Maybe he takes it. He definitely takes it way too far when he goes too personal.
I agree.
When it comes to family, stuff like that, just like Connor does. I mean, I understand they're playing a part, and I get that. You're just going a little too far.
I agree, and that's like.
But they're great. They're great people outside of the person.
Right. And their fighting skills is the key thing as far as what we're talking about. If this is a popularity contest, who you like better, who is a nicer person, it would be a lot different and harder to evaluate who's going to win. We're talking about skill set, and it's going to be interesting. I think that the first round is going to be telling, although there may be a bit of a feeling out round. But I think that Colby's going to wrestle. I think Colby's going to wrestle.
He has to.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's what we got. UFC 268. That's the breakdown this week. Before we go, our man, the MMA professor, where can everybody find you on?
You can find me, the host of the MMA Power Hour, the most amazing show on TV, along with the breakdown. I guess you could call it a tie, right? But we have 2 hours of interviewing high-level fighters. We have some of the best champions and top contenders out there. It's not always possible to say you'll have Habib on this week, and you'll have Izzy Adesanya on that week, and then you'll have John Jones on this week, and then you'll have Dustin Poirier. It doesn't really work like that. Those guys are a little bit behind like a wall of unavailability most of the time for media. But basically, we've had a lot of these guys right before they became champs. We have a lot of top 10 contenders, a ton of top 15 contenders, and lately we've been really killing it with top 10 contenders. You were credentialed UFC, Bellator, PFL, and one championship. And 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific time. And our show stays up after it's done. So if you can't be there, just go and grab it. Fight TV, FITE.tv, free of charge. You can download the app or just go on your laptop or desktop. And then look for The Hannibal TV for some of our past content on YouTube. Sometimes he'll cut up our 2-hour show and put a couple of different segments that he likes a lot on his YouTube channel, Facebook as well on his channel. Dr. Adam Rorta has his own Adam Rorta YouTube, and I'm probably going to start getting some stuff on mine. But all those great options, please check us out. We appreciate you. MMA Power Hour, and so great to work with you, the fight analyst, Garrett, Kerman, and this breakdown is awesome. I love working with you, brother.
Absolutely, man. I love doing this with you. I'm glad we got it in for UFC 268. Great fight card this weekend. I'm looking forward to it. We're going to cash out our bets. We're going to make a ton of money. You guys know where to find me, at Fight Analyst LLC on Twitter, The Fight Analyst LLC on Instagram, and The Fight Analyst on Facebook. And guys, also, I need you guys to go over to Playmaker KO and Playmaker. Give their guys a like and a follow everywhere on all social media platforms. And I will give you guys my best bets on the Playmaker KO TikTok page. Go over there, give it a follow. It will be up Saturday morning like always. And with that said, we will see you all cashing out at the tick window. Until next time, you guys have a great night. Adios.
Peace.